The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up, take command. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So I told you I'd be back if there was a blockbuster trade or the Commanders did something. I kind of tried to wait to see if the Commanders would do something. So maybe I need to push the envelope a little bit, get on here, talk a little bit, jump off, and then maybe they'll do something. But last night, blockbuster trade. I expected it to happen sometime this weekend. Maxx Crosby dealt from the Raiders. Didn't know where he was going to go. We had talked about this yesterday. Didn't want him in the division, right? Cowboys, I said that the Cowboys were very, very hot in pursuit of Maxx Crosby. They're clearly in the market for an edge rusher. Trey Hendrickson, I would guess, would be plan B for them, which is fine by me. He's not a game wrecker like Maxx Crosby is. So you can go ahead and get you 31-year-old Trey Hendrickson, and he might go get you 10, 11, 12 sacks next year. Great. But he's not Maxx Crosby. Even when Maxx Crosby doesn't get a sack, he can blow up an entire game, right? He's that kind of difference maker. And I talked about the Eagles being interested in Maxx Crosby and how they might be willing to toss Jalen Carter into the mix as a deal sweetener, so to speak, which was dangerous because he's the kind of guy that if I'm looking to move a Maxx Crosby, that's the kind of player, in addition to picks, obviously, that I want in return. And so glad that that didn't manifest, even if that was a thing. I don't care. The bottom line is I saw Lamar Jackson post yesterday. At the time, I didn't know what it meant. People kept saying after the fact that Lamar Jackson predicted this. He didn't predict anything. He knew. They had already told him. That's why he was able to post that, right? The organization had already reached out to Lamar, told him, hey, we're getting Maxx Crosby. So he posted the Denzel Washington, boom, meme from training day. And I was like, what does that mean? You know, players stay doing some cryptic shit on social media. So I was like, I wonder what that means. I had no idea. And I wasn't looking to try to figure it out. And so I just kept it pushing. I didn't even bring it up. 3 hours later, I figure out what that boom meant now, right? So here's the deal right here. Adam Schefter, ESPN sources, the Raiders agreed to trade 5-time Pro Bowl defensive end Maxx Crosby to the Baltimore Ravens in exchange for a 2026 and 2027 first-round pick. So 2 first-rounders. It was rumored to be said that the Raiders also wanted a player in addition to the 2 picks. That didn't manifest itself. But here's the kicker. Here's the reason why it matters to us. One, he's not in the division, but he was close. The Cowboys were willing to offer a 1st and 2nd round pick to the Raiders for Maxx Crosby, but logically and understandably, Vegas opted for the 2 first-round picks from the Ravens. So he was this close to being in the division. The Cowboys really, truly wanted Maxx Crosby here, wanted him in the division, wanted him in Dallas. So can we just take this time? You know, one of our favorite pastimes here as Commanders fans is to share in the misery of the Dallas Cowboys. You know, even though the rivalry hasn't had the luster that it has in recent years, it's always a fun time when things don't go well for the Dallas Cowboys and old Jared Jones, right? Can we just give a round of applause for the failure of the Dallas Cowboys to land the big fish that is known as Mad Maxx? Can we just get us a round of applause? Hell yes. Keep his ass out of this goddamn division. You get rid of one monster in Micah Parsons, and you're trying to bring another one into the division. How dare you? This is what they get for getting rid of Micah Parsons. You rue the day that you moved on from one of the most disruptive and destructive defenders
this league has right now, and you're trying to replace him now desperately, doing stupid shit like trying to trade away picks when you had a guy and all you had to do was pay him. You stupid idiots. I love it, and I'm so glad that they're on the prowl and on the hunt for something that they can't get. You can't find another Micah Parsons, and you tried to go get a Maxx Crosby, and you failed epically. Now you got to resort to maybe getting your hands on a Jonathan Grenard or a Trey Hendrickson. Those guys don't suck, but they're not Micah Parsons. You stupid idiots. I love it. All right, so I got that out of my system. So glad that Maxx Crosby isn't an Eagle or a Cowboy, and he's not even in the conference. Job well done, Baltimore Ravens. Way to keep Mad Maxx out of the damn division and conference. Another hand clap, this time for the Baltimore Ravens. Gotta love when a plan comes together. All right, moving right along. This is not necessarily news that affects us, but it indirectly kind of affects us. So I don't know if you guys just saw this, came down about maybe an hour ago, 45 minutes ago or so. ESPN sources from Schefter again. The Colts are trading former Pro Bowl linebacker Zaire Franklin to the Green Bay Packers. Former 7th-round pick, Franklin spent 8 years in Indianapolis and was an organizational favorite who led the NFL in tackles in 2024 with 173. He's got a podcast too with, I think it's with Speed, which was one of his former teammates in Indianapolis. He's an outspoken guy, is Zaire Franklin. That said, why is this important? It's only important if you're someone like myself who is holding out hope that the Commanders are going to spend at the linebacker position, specifically on one guy, Quay Walker. Now, Quay Walker is currently still a member of the Green Bay Packers, but on Wednesday, he will not be. And on Monday, the tampering period begins and teams can start trying to get him to agree to a deal. Quay Walker was a guy that Green Bay tried to re-sign. All reports are that they've been working tirelessly to try to get Quay Walker to sign an extension to stay in Green Bay. I've said this a million times, and I'll say it a million more. When you allow a player this close to free agency, there's no reason, unless that player absolutely loves it where he currently is and doesn't want to leave under any circumstances and is willing to give the team a hometown discount, because that's effectively what you'd be doing by signing a deal. Once you go out on the open market, you're going to get more than whatever the team is offering you. That's just the nature of business. Supply and demand. Teams out there are desperate to get your services, and it doesn't always work out that way. Le'Veon Bell found out the hard way when the Steelers offered him a long-term deal. He turned it down, sat out of football for a year, came back and got less money from the New York Jets to play football. It doesn't always work out that way. Had Le'Veon Bell hit free agency that year, instead of sitting out, he probably would have got more money than the Steelers offered him, but that's just not what it ended up being. 9 times out of 10, though, like if the Indianapolis Colts have been offering some, offers to their wide receiver, Alec Pierce, I would assume that it was good money. It's not what he's going to get on the open market, right? If the Ravens, which I don't think they're interested in, they made their decision when they re-upped on Mark Andrews. They told Isaiah Likely essentially by re-ing up with Mark Andrews that we're not going to re-sign you. But let's just say, for the sake of this conversation that we're having, had the Ravens been trying to actively re-sign Isaiah Likely, whatever they're offering him is going to pale in comparison to what's going to be offered to him on the free agent market, where you've got 3 or 4 teams bidding for his services. So at this point, Quay Walker's like, I mean, y'all had an opportunity to pick up my 5th-year option. You didn't. You guys had a chance to sign me during the season. You didn't. Now you want to come at me in the 23rd hour and you want to try to get a deal done. Hell no. Free agency is literally right around the corner. I'm going to test that and see what it's talking about. And if I don't love what's being offered to me, maybe I'll come back. And if you still got the deal on the table, maybe we can talk then. He's not coming back to Green Bay. Somebody's going to offer Quay Walker the bag. He's young, he's athletic, and he has a chance to be a really special linebacker in this league if he keeps his head screwed on straight. So the reason I bring this up to you is because them trading for Zaire Franklin signals that Quay Walker isn't going to be back in Green Bay. They tried to get him to sign on the dotted line. They realized they're going to lose him, and so they need to replace him. So instead of going out on the market themselves, they're going to trade for Zaire Franklin, and they still will have two really good linebackers in Edgerrin Cooper and now Zaire Franklin. He ain't Quay Walker, but at least they don't fall off a cliff in terms of the production that they'll be getting at that position. But what that signals is that Quay Walker, for those of us who are hoping that the Commanders are still interested in adding a linebacker like Quay Walker, he's going to hit the free agent market, and hopefully the Commanders are interested in bringing Quay Walker on board. I don't think he's going to end up here. I've said that I don't think they're going to spend big on the linebacker position, but I can still hold out hope. I can still hold out hope, just like I can still hold out hope that they do something at safety, although I don't think it's going to happen. Same thing with tight end. I can still hold out hope, that they can do something major at tight end. I know it's not going to be Isaiah Likely, but could it be Chig Okonkwo? I'll be happy with that. Anything less than Chig Okonkwo will be uncivilized, if you ask me, and I'm going to be like, but, we'll see what happens. But here's the major topic that I wanted to come chop it up with you guys about on this Saturday afternoon, and then we'll get out of here. I don't want to hold you hostage on your beautiful weekend, whatever you have planned for it. So John Keim recently put out a podcast with 5 thoughts ahead of free agency. One of those thoughts pertained to Brandon Aiyuk specifically. And a lot of people have been commenting on this. I just pulled one from a reputable source, reputable enough. All right, Mark Tyler of Hogs Haven. If you haven't, been that, like, they collect all of the information about the Commanders and they just throw it into one website. So I think it's called the Daily Slop, that they, grab every bit of Commanders information that they're hearing out there that's being reported, that's just floating around, and they just throw it all in one place. So if you're looking for somewhere that is actually a website, not social media, again, social media will get you got this time of the year. This is a place that is safe. Not all the information that you're getting there is true, right? Is accurate. Some of it is hearsay, just like on social media, but they're putting it in one spot for you to consume. That said, he tweeted this out after listening to John Keim's podcast. So if you want the skeleton of what Keim was talking about on his podcast as it pertains to Aiyuk, here is basically what it is. Aiyuk is, this is important, is working out and wants to play. Let's stop right there. All right, we'll come back. I need to see you, because I've said this about Brandon Aiyuk. The only thing we don't know about Aiyuk is up here, right? Physically, we don't know if he's healthy, and if he'll ever get back to what he once was. We can't know that until we actually see him perform on the field. But you have to assume, after being out for as long as he's been out, that the knee should be fine by now, structurally at least, right? It should be fine. Man has not played in a game since 2024, okay? So we're talking about over a year and a half. This man has not played in an NFL game. So structurally, the knee should be fine. I was never really worried about, is he healthy at this point? With modern science and the way guys bounce back from gruesome injuries, wasn't really too concerned about that with the amount of time that has elapsed. I was more so worried about up here. Does he even want to play football?
This is what you got to understand. When Adam Peters said what he said at his combine presser, when he made the remark of Brandon Aiyuk's on another team, but then proceeded to say that we know his character and that we know what kind of a player he is, what kind of a person he is, and vouch for him, they're not doing that if they don't know what's going on with Aiyuk. And I'm not saying that the Commanders are tampering, but come on now. Like, Adam Peters is a smart enough guy to understand how the game goes. He's not going to be out here just talking willy-nilly out of the side of his neck without knowing what's going on. He already knew. And even if that's getting information from Jaden, hey, what's up with your boy? And Jaden's like, yo, he working, bro. Trust me. He out here working out. I seen it with my own 2 eyes. He's in great shape. He wants to play for the Commanders. They getting their information. They understand where Brandon Aiyuk is in his process, right? So let's go back. He is working, all right? He's working out, and he wants to play. So that's the first big domino. That was the one thing that I questioned throughout all of this. Does this man even love ball? Does he even want to play? Because if the answer is, I don't know, I'm good. John said that it's going to be a 1-year prove-it deal in that $7 to $8 million range with incentives. Again, duh, right? Like, that's not news. We knew it was going to be a 1-year prove-it deal. It's not going to be super expensive, which is why you can go out and spend some money in free agency on a receiver, right? Because Aiyuk's deal is not going to cost you a ton of money. It's only a 1-year deal because you got to make sure that he's healthy, that he can do the things that he used to be able to do. You don't want to go in here and give him a 2-3 year deal. Somebody left a comment in the comment section of the last video that I did say, here goes Adam Peters on that 1-year deal bullshit again. Why is he could have signed, and then he said he could have signed Treylon Burks to a 2-year deal. Why? Why sign him to a 2-year deal? He could ball out this year, and that 2-year deal looked like a steal. He could also stink, or he could also get hurt this year. And now you're locked into another year of Treylon Burks. For what? See what he's got. If he balls, you can always come back to the table and try to get something done with him. And let's be honest. If you're getting Brandon Aiyuk and you're signing another receiver in free agency and Treylon Burks is your 4th option, how much balling is he really truly going to do anyway? Like, even if he plays really well and you want to do it again with him next year, you want to re-up with Treylon Burks, you can do that. You can do that. So it's really not a big deal that he's handing out 1-year deals. That makes sense with the guys that he's handed them out to this point. And Aiyuk is going to be another one when that time comes. BA wants to be here and would probably be on his best behavior. Now, let me come back here. Let's get closer than close. Yeah. Let's get closer. So much closer, babe. Because I need y'all to hear this. Of course he wants to be here. I can't vouch for the final portion of that line that he's going to be on his quote-unquote best behavior. We don't know what he's going to do when he gets here. All right. Here's what we do know. He wants to play with his best friend, Jaden Daniels. Okay. He wants to play with his best friend, Jaden Daniels. He's made that abundantly clear. So he's going to come here and he's going to assimilate. Someone yesterday, made the comment that he's a locker room cancer. When has Brandon Aiyuk ever been a locker room cancer? When has that ever been a thing? When has he ever been a distraction in the locker room during a season? Prior to the season, when he was trying to get his contract back in 2024, yeah, he was a distraction that summer. Absolutely, he was. But he wasn't a cancer in the locker room. That's never been a thing that anybody's ever been able to pin on Brandon Aiyuk. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. I've never been worried about his behavior. So to have to say, and he's going to be on his best behavior, I don't think that's something that we really need to be overly concerned with. I think the issue for him, and I don't think he went about it the right way. I'm not trying to justify his actions, But I think the reason he did the things that he did is because he wanted out of San Francisco. And he wanted to come here and play alongside his best friend, Jaden Daniels. Is that the way to go about it? To basically ghost your former team that gave you all of that money and force them to take it back away from you? And don't show up for treatments and just essentially denounce your being a part of that team? No, I don't think that's the way to go about it. But it achieved the ultimate goal, which was to get out of San Francisco, because it's going to happen. I don't think we have to talk about his behavior. He's not a bad dude in a locker room. He's never been. That's not a thing. So he wants to be here. I think that's something that we already knew. But to hear it being said and reported, that's great. But I think we already knew he wanted to be here. I don't think we have to worry about his behavior. Like, you want to question his off-the-field antics, be my guest. I'm not going to stop you. There's enough stuff out there that he's done that would allow you to question whether or not his off-the-field antics are within reason. But to question him as a teammate in a locker room, I don't think that's fair. Lastly, will not trade for him again. And he puts in parentheses, but we all knew that no one's trading for him, right? He's going to hit the free agent market and he's going to make a beeline for Washington. And the beauty is he doesn't want to go anywhere else. You don't have to compete with other teams. Even if some other team comes in and says, hey, we'll give you $12 million this year. He's not interested. The money isn't the issue. He wants to be happy. And what's going to make him happy is coming to work every day and kicking it with his boy. So he's coming to Washington. And for those of you not sure about Brandon Aiyuk, he's going to be a Commander. He's baked in, similar to how we treated Treylon Burks, even though he wasn't under contract prior to yesterday. We treated him like he was a part of this roster. Like when we would talk about the receiver position going into the offseason, it was Terry, Treylon Burks, and then the two, young guys, right? Trey, Luke McCaffrey, and Jalen Lane, right? And we needed to add to the position. But we already had Treylon Burks in the mix. We're now going to start conducting ourselves as if Brandon Aiyuk is a part of the mix. So now it's Terry McLaurin, Brandon Aiyuk, Treylon Burks, Jalen Lane, and Luke McCaffrey. And you still need to add one more guy to the mix. And I expect them to do that during free agency. I don't think they're going to draft anyone this year because of this at the receiver position. And I don't necessarily blame them for that. It's not a necessary evil now, right? It's not a necessary need, right? You could want a receiver, but you don't need a receiver. And I've said this already. This is the reason why I don't think they're going to draft a corner this year either. I could be wrong because we have a little bit more of a deficit at corner than we do at wide receiver right now. But they've drafted a corner each of the last 2 years. They've drafted a wide receiver each of the last 2 years. You may not love the receivers that they've drafted each of the last 2 years, but they've done it nonetheless. Same with the cornerback position, which is why it's hard for me to believe that they're going to draft another corner this year. I think they're going to, sign a couple of guys in free agency. And I think they're going to bring one of their guys back from last year, sign a couple guys in free agency, and round out the group. That way, they could draft a corner. I would actually prefer them to take a flyer on a corner in the 5th round in this year's draft, someone that they can develop, doesn't necessarily have to play this year, but just something young and developmental that we can start to see if we can find a diamond in the rough at the cornerback position. But they're going to spend at the cornerback position. That is for certain, to get someone opposite of Trey Amos at the cornerback position. Again, Mikey could be out there and they could be shopping in the nickel department instead of the boundary department. Who knows what their thought process is. I think they want a bigger corner outside. So I think they're going to spend to acquire that in free agency. But Brandon Aiyuk is working, wants to be here. None of this other than him working out, which is something that we didn't know prior to John Kahn basically telling us this. Everything else we kind of already knew. He wants to be here. The deal isn't going to be but 1 year. It's going to be a, prove it deal. We already knew it, right? But
to hear that he's working out is music to our ears, because that was the thing that we weren't sure about. So looking forward to adding him to the mix. I want to see who they add alongside him and Terry. And then if they add Rasheed Shaheed to this group, and I think Aiyuk coming on board for somewhere in that, $7 to $10 million range, with incentives, and may be able to get up to 14 or 15 million, whatever the case may be. That allows you to go splurge on a receiver like Rasheed Shaheed, should he come available. I hope they do it. Boy, I hope they go and do it. You really want to change the game on offense. If you're not going to do it at the running back position, right, which I'm still holding out hope that Jeremiah Love is on their radar in the draft if he gets to them. But if you're not going to do it at the running back position, at least do it. And you're not going to do it at the tight end position, at least do it at the receiver position. At least do it there. So I'm excited, man. We are less than 48 hours away from that tampering period taking off and seeing what the Commanders have up their sleeve. They're going to spend, some money. They're going to spend on it. I think at least everybody keeps saying they're going to come away with one big ticket item. I think there's going to be at least 2, possibly 3 big ticket items. I've already told you the positions I think it's going to be. Premium positions: receiver, edge rusher, corner. I think they're going to spend big at all 3 of those positions, get names that should make you excited, should move the needle. Even if it's slightly, it should move the needle nonetheless. Maybe we get a tight end. Maybe we get a linebacker. Maybe we get a safety. I wouldn't count on those positions being targeted heavily, but I think they're going to add someone at linebacker. I just don't think it's going to be a big name that moves the needle necessarily for you. I think they could target a tight end. It just might not be one of the ones we're interested in. I still have hope that Chig Okonkwo is the guy that they make a beeline to, knowing that Isaiah Likely is going to have a ton of suitors and the price tag for him is going to fly through the roof like it is for Alec Pierce. I hope they just make a beeline to Chig Okonkwo and say, hey, come home, buddy. Come home, buddy. Right? He went to Maryland. Bring it home, man. And bring him home and give us one of the more athletically gifted offenses in the league. You got Shaheed, you got Terry, you got Chig Okonkwo, you got Bill. If you add an Algier, which I expect an Algier, or they might be bringing back the 2018 Arizona State group, right? With Rachaad White, Brandon Aiyuk, and Jaden Daniels. That could be the case. I wouldn't rule that out. I already told you it's one of the two. They're either signing Tyler Algier or they're signing Rachaad White. It's one of the two. So that's what I expect at running back. I'm got my fingers crossed for Rasheed Shaheed. It's probably not going to happen, but that's the guy that I want the most. I already told you that's an urgent matter. Urgent, emergency. That's the urgent guy that I want them to be the first in line to get as soon as that tampering period gets underway. But corner, edge rusher, wide receiver are the positions I know they're going to spend at. Will they spend at tight end? Will they spend at linebacker? Will they spend at safety? I know they're going to bring in a running back. Will they spend at those other positions? We don't have to wait much longer to find out. We will see. But anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section and then get out of here. Tony Brown, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Big shout out to Tony Brown. Will Diggs, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Big shout out to Will Diggs. Tony Brown, double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy Tony writes, Hitman Louie T. It's good, Tony. Man, every day you keep saying the Commanders won't do this or won't do that. Well, what do you think they will do with all this money? I've already told you. I laid it out for you. I did a whole video telling you what I think they're going to do with the money. Go watch that video. I did that video 2 days ago. Was it 2 days ago? Might be 3 days ago. What's today? Saturday? I did that video Thursday. I think I did it Thursday.
either Thursday or Wednesday. But I told you what I think they're going to do with the money. They're going to sign a cornerback. They're going to spend good money too on a cornerback. They're going to sign an edge rusher. If I had to give you the order in which they're going to spend, they are absolutely spending on an edge rusher. That is non-negotiable, okay? So I would put that at the top of the list of items that they are absolutely going to spend on. They are definitely adding an edge rusher to this group, whether it's Jalen Phillips, whether it's Boye Mafe, whether it's Adafe Owe. They're spending on an edge rusher. That's priority one for them, more likely than not. Two, they're going to spend on a running back. It won't be top dollar. Again, it's going to be on a Tyler Algier or Rachaad White. One of those two will be a Commander, if you ask me. The next thing that I say they would spend on would probably be cornerback. I feel like corner is second on the list of items that they absolutely are going to spend on. I think receiver will be third on that list. Running back is absolutely going to be spent on. Again, not to the level of edge rusher, wide receiver, and cornerback. That next tier down will be running back, that they will absolutely spend on a running back. And then I think everything else will be kind of filling in the gaps. I would love for them, if they are going to spend, I think linebacker / tight end would be the next two after running back. And you would hope, and again, I got my fingers crossed, that Quay Walker is in the mix at linebacker. That's a big ticket item, by the way. You'd have to spend good money. He's going to have a very robust market, is Quay Walker. He's young. He's athletic. Linebackers with his skill set generally don't hit the market at his age. What is he, 24 years old? 25 years old. He'll be 26 before camp. That is extremely young. That's what you want, a guy going into the prime of his career. You give him a 3-year deal and he's still not going to be 30 years old. That's what you're aiming for. So he's going to have a ton of suitors. I don't know if the Commanders will be one of them, but again, that's all we could hope. I still think it's going to be an Eric Wilson type that they bring in at the linebacker position. But we'll see. Tight end, again, they really like their group. Will they add a pass-catching threat like a Chig Okonkwo to the mix? I would love to see them do it. Don't know if they will. I'm not holding my breath. But I do know they're going to spend on edge, corner, receiver, and running back. Those are the only four that I know for a fact. Within these first 3 days, next week, Monday, Tuesday, tampering days, Wednesday, the actual day that free agency kicks off. Though by Wednesday, March 11th, when the new league year hits, the Commanders would have already agreed to a contract with a wide receiver, a running back, edge rusher, and a cornerback. That's all I can tell you. Everything else, and again, they got a lot of roster spots to fill. They're going to fill them in with, backup guy here, another backup guy here, another depth piece here. They're going to do all of that stuff. You don't have to do that right away. They can do that in the second wave of free agency. That first wave where you got to go get these high-priced, big-ticket items, they're going to be active then. So they're going to spend money. They're going to spend money. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB video channel. Writes, Lou, video channel. What is the prediction on the years and money for an Aiyuk contract? They basically told you. Mark Tyler basically told you. So 1-year deal. John Kahn basically said it's going to be a 1-year deal. A 1-year prove-it deal. My guess is somewhere in the $8 to $10 million range. With incentives, it can get up. If it's 8, let's say it's 8. With incentives, it can get up to 12. If it gets to 10, then with incentives, it can get up to 14 or 15, something like that. My guess is 1 year, 10 million. That's my guess. 1 year, 10 million. With incentives, it could get to 15. That's my guess. And if he balls out, then you come back to the table with him next year and you figure out a number that makes sense for all parties involved. How old is Brandon Aiyuk anyway? I'm actually curious. He's got to be right around the same age as Jaden. Let's check and see how old is Brandon Aiyuk. I'm gonna say he's probably 26. Is what I'm gonna go with. 26. Brandon Aiyuk he's 27. He just turned 27. Whoa. He'll turn 28 excuse me, in 10 days. They'll turn 28 in 10 days. So, a little bit older than what I thought, but I mean, that doesn't bother me one bit. Doesn't change. It might change what the specs of a deal next year might look like on a long-term deal, because then he'd be pushing 30 at that point. Like, he's going to turn 28 this year. Next offseason, he'll be turning 29 and looking for probably a 3-year deal, something like that, if he plays well this year. So that it'll become interesting then, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. He's got to play well, stay healthy, and play well this year first. Rocky D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Rocky D writes, "What's this noise about Terry's future with us?" So this noise came from Matthew Berry, who is the fantasy football guru for NBC Sports. Used to be of ESPN fame. He's a massive Commanders fan, and so he's been flapping his gums here lately. He was the one that talked about the Commanders want a thumper at running back. And he also said that on a podcast that he believes that this is the final year. It feels like, he said. He didn't say anything definitive. He just says, by all indications, things he's heard, this feels like the last year of Terry McLaurin in Washington. 2026 will be. And that's an easy, low-hanging fruit thing to say at this point, coming off of the season Terry just had, his age, the contract that he signed. There's a lot of factors pointing to this could be his last year in Washington. I get that. But if Terry goes out and restores order and justice, remember, this is why I was adamant that Terry needed to be paid, irregardless of age, because I think his game is going to age well, one. But two, Terry isn't your typical 30, 31, 32-year-old when he gets there, right? Because like, people forget, Terry is only going into this is year 7 for him. Like, Terry came into the league as an older player. So there's not a lot of tread off of those tires. He's still got a lot of tread left. You look at Mike Evans, who's, getting up there in age, but they're kind of comparable. Mike Evans has been in the league forever. There isn't a lot of tread left on those tires, right? Whereas Terry is still like 3-4 years less years of service in the league, 3 years, 4 years less of wear and tear on his body. Terry is, to me, going to age well. And last year was an anomaly because of the whole contractual situation, him not getting the work in, and there were freak injuries, to be honest. Freak injuries. So I think Terry will restore order and justice this year, and he'll be back. I think he'll be back. But yeah, Matthew Berry basically started this conversation. It got a lot louder over the course of this week. And, we're in that season where there's not a lot to talk about. There will be next week. But, this was sort of a little bit of a dead period between the combine and the start of the new league year. There's just kind of this empty space and a void that needs to be filled, and it gets filled with conversations like that. But I mean, it's a real conversation, because again, Terry didn't have a great year last year. We know about the contractual situation, and so there's real questions about what his future in Washington is going to be. I'm not one that subscribes to Terry not being here past 2026. But I'll say this: if his 2026 looks anything like 2025, he won't be here. But I'm banking on him getting back to business of being Terry McLaurin. That's what I'm banking on. So I assume he's going to be the Terry that we've all come to know and love, not the guy that we saw last year. And again, keep this in mind, when he did play last year, he was damn good. He was the same Terry. It's not like his production fell off a cliff when he was out there. When he was out there, and they threw him the ball, which was also a big challenge last year. But when they actually threw him the ball, he was still Terry. The Denver game, the Chiefs game, the games where he played and he was out there and they actually threw him the football, he quickly reminded you of why he is who he is. Problem is, he just wasn't out there enough, right? the Giants game, the second Giants game. Ben Jones, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ben writes, hey, Lou, what's up, Ben? Hope your Saturday is going well. It absolutely is. Thank you for mentioning that. And I hope yours is going even better. What time does tampering start Monday? 12 o'clock. But let me just be sure. I don't want to give out erroneous information. Let me double check that right now while I'm with you. But I am pretty sure that it starts at 12 noon on Monday. And I'm going to be live for all of it. I'll be live at noon on Monday, at noon on Tuesday, and probably at noon on Wednesday. I think it's going to be one of those weeks where we're just going to be live. We're just going to get after it because we expect the Commanders to be busy, among other things, and we'll be covering other teams and their moves as well. But we're just going to get after it all week long, basically. What time does NFL tampering window begin on Monday? All right. The NFL free agency starts off obviously 4:00 p.m. on Wednesday. The tampering period begins Monday, March 9th at noon East time. So, yes, Monday, mark your calendars, Monday at noon, teams can start reaching out to agents and trying to facilitate deals. So we will be live. I'll probably jump on like maybe 11:45 or something like that, just to get the party started, get us all ready for that 12 o'clock hour. And then I'm pretty sure as soon as it turns 12, you're going to hear about, 2 or 3 deals. Bam. Like, ain't no way you ain't been tampering since the combine in Indy because it just turned 12 and you're already reporting that this person, it reminds me of when free agency used to not have a tampering period and you had to wait till that Wednesday. And then I remember I used to rush home from work. I would get all my work done that day early and I would rush home so I could be in front of my TV and hopefully going live on my computer at 4:00 or at least be in front of my television, if nothing else. And like 6 deals would be already consummated by 4:01. And you're like, bro, how in the hell did that happen if these guys weren't already talking beforehand? Which is why they started the tampering period, because they knew teams were and agents were tampering anyway. So why not make it legal now? Well, all you did was start the tampering period even earlier. Teams are talking with agents right now, right? So, I expect deals to hit probably 12:01, which means they were talking to them over the weekend, which means they were talking to them in Indy, right? But it starts on Monday at noon. Good question, Ben. Grande Groove, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Grande Groove writes, you think Aiyuk brings drama? There's only one football. Again, I think you guys are confusing his off the field antics with his on the field. Have you ever seen Brandon Aiyuk cause an issue on a sideline or in a locker room? You answer the question. I know the answer for me. You could have seen something different. We brought Deebo Samuel in here and he punched a whole entire kicker in the face, basically. He probably didn't punch him. That's a little harsh. He mushed a kicker, bro. Like, the most Brandon Aiyuk has done that would piss me off on a football field is drop the ball. That is something that he did do in San Francisco. Drop the football. Which is what Deebo Samuel did in San Francisco. And then he came here and did this shit and it pissed me off. That's the thing. If you want something that concerns me, it got nothing to do with him crying over the football. Has nothing to do with him being a locker room malcontent. It has everything to do with productivity on the field. Is he going to catch the damn ball when it's thrown to him? Because before he got injured in 2024, he was a disappointment after the contract because he was dropping the damn football. He wasn't playing well. So that's what I'm concerned about. He's not a guy that's going to cry about getting the ball. And I would be more concerned with, is Jaden going to go out of his way to try to get his boy the football? Is he going to treat him like he treated Noah Brown, and instead of getting Terry the ball, he's trying to get it to Brandon Aiyuk? I'd be more concerned about that than anything else, right? John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, JP, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, thank the football guys that Dallas didn't get Mad Maxx. Yes. Thank the football gods indeed. You know, that's just karma. Jerry don't deserve it. Jerry's a dum-dum, and he gets everything that he deserves, including not getting Maxx Crosby because you traded away Micah Parsons, and now you're chasing after a Micah Parsons replacement when you already had one of the most dangerous and explosive and dynamic rushers in the league, and you got rid of him. One more hand clap. Shout out to the football guys for making sure the Cowboys stay mediocre on the defensive side of the football. Art by Rapid, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Art by Rapid writes, Lou, Art, or Rapid. I always do that. Rapid. Rasheed Shaheed. He says, Rasheed Shaheed. We need it. We need it. We need Rasheed Shaheed here in Washington. Where is he from? I'm interested. Where is Rasheed Shaheed from? He is from Phoenix, Arizona. So this wouldn't be home. It wouldn't even be close to home. Seattle was closer to home for him than anything else. And he went to, what college did he go to? He probably was out west, if I had to guess. Weber State. Where is Weber State at? Utah. So yeah, I mean, he was right in the backyard. He would be coming East Coast. And I don't know if that's something that he's interested in. You know, he's probably always been in some way, shape, or form on the West Coast. So maybe coming East isn't something that he's interested in doing. I mean, he played with the Saints for many years. They're far from home for him, but I would imagine Seattle felt like home, didn't want to leave, probably still doesn't want to leave. But look, man, money talks, everything else walks. So I'm hoping that he's open to going wherever the money is. I'm hoping that he's interested in coming here, bringing that Super Bowl winning experience to Washington, and maybe he can be a guy that can help us get over the top. You know, we went out and got Deebo Samuel and Laramie Tunsil, two really good players, but neither one of them have experience winning a Super Bowl. You want to try to win a Super Bowl, you want to bring in guys who have won a Super Bowl. And Rasheed Shaheed has done that. So I would love to see a guy like that added to the mix, because he can help tell guys, hey, this is how you get it done. This is what it takes. So I hope they sign him. Man, I hope they sign him. Again, I'm trying not to get my hopes up, because while I want that to be the priority, I don't think it is. Edge rusher is. Corner, you could even argue, I think it is above wide receiver, because they know they're getting Brandon Aiyuk. So in their mind, they might not be as pressured to go get a receiver that is of Rasheed Shaheed's ilk, because they're getting a Brandon Aiyuk and they feel really good about him. So they may be more likely to go out here and get something cheap like a Tyquan Thornton, which wouldn't piss me off. It would just put more pressure then on a guy like Treylon Burks, because I don't look at Tyquan Thornton as anything other than a deep threat. So that would put pressure on Treylon Burks to then maybe even be your third option, and Tyquan Thornton would just be, a deep threat and maybe a guy that can return kickoffs. Because he did do that with Kansas City last year, I believe. So I hope they don't take that approach. Like, if you can't get, like, if Rasheed Shaheed isn't interested in coming to Washington, I just told you he's from the West Coast. He's basically spent most of his life on the left coast. If he's not interested coming back east again, because he did do that for the New Orleans Saints, But if he's got a choice, which he does, he has a choice, and the Vegas Raiders come calling, and that's closer to home for him, he may decide I want to be a Raider instead of a Commander, right? And that's his choice. They may pivot and go elsewhere. And that pivot could be a guy like Tyquan Thornton, because we have to add speed. We have to add speed. Like, if you go and sign Brandon Aiyuk and you sign Romeo Doubs, you still don't have another vertical threat. You're still in the same position you were in last year. You don't have anybody else that stretches the field vertically if Terry McLaurin is not on the field. You do not want to put yourself in that position again. If you are the Commanders, you cannot put yourself in that position again. Teams started to load up the line of scrimmage because they didn't feel threatened by our vertical ability. Nobody else really could run. So they didn't have to respect anybody getting on top of them defensively. And so they could kind of pack it in. And they did. And we saw the end result, man. Our run game suffered at one point because of it. The pass game suffered. Jaden suffered because of it. You got guys like Chris Moore and Robbie Anderson, or the wide receiver formerly known as Robbie Anderson, out there. You're in trouble. So they're going to add some sort of speed. I hope it's Rasheed Shaheed, but it could be Tyquan Thornton. It could be De'Ami Brown. We'll see what it is. Anyway, I digress. That is the last super chat. So that is going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up, take command. Unless the Commanders do something tomorrow, I'm taking the day off because I'm preparing myself for what is going to be a grueling week. I know I'm going to be working all Monday, all Tuesday, all Wednesday. And so I'm going to give my voice a rest and in anticipation for what is going to be a very critical week. It's a critical offseason for Dan Quinn and Adam Peters, and this week is very critical for them to get off to a very fast start. And so we're going to chronicle all of it, every single bit of it here on the Louie T Network. So unless the Commanders do something, you won't see me tomorrow. But you will see me quite a bit next week. So in any event, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the Command Post Live. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and get ready. Saddle up. We are in for one hell of a ride. Free agency is about to kick off, and our Commanders are going to be active. I'll see you then. Peace.